everyone. Welcome to the RavenRabbit Wellness Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Jackie Cope, and I'm here to talk to you about all things life, healing, and happiness with the spiritual indigenous approach. Enjoy the episode. This is Season 1, Finding Yourself. Episode 1, You Can Connect with Your Past. Hi, everyone. This is Jackie here. I'm coming to you from the RavenRabbit Wellness Studio in Anza, California. I'm so excited to be finally recording my first episode here for the RavenRabbit Wellness Studio podcast. I've been apprehensive about starting. I've just had a lot of self-doubt, which I've been working through and want to push through and just get started. So before we start this episode today, I want to start with a little invocation to guide my words, to guide my thoughts. Dear Creator, please make me a pure, incorruptible channel of loving, healing, divine presence, and provide me with all the protection, guidance, and wisdom I need. Only the highest and best can be here with us and for us. And so it is. So my first episode, I'm here to just share a little bit about myself and my spiritual journey and how I'm here talking on this microphone today. It's been a spiritual journey for me my whole life through my childhood. I was one of those kids who always saw things. I would hear noises, and I loved sharing these stories with my friends when I was younger, and my friends would always ask me, "Oh, do you see anything? Do you feel anything?" As I became a teenager, it became really strong, really in my face. I think there was a lot of energies around that probably weren't the highest and best. Things trying to scare me, things trying to startle me. And I really shut down my spiritual side a lot. I was given advice by my grandma, if you can't, to tell it to go away. And if you aren't ready to handle it, you don't want to handle it, you don't have to. Just step away from it. So I stepped away from it for a very long time, many years. During those times, I was in my first marriage. I was going the Christianity church religion path, which I'm not putting that in any way. That's just what happened. That's the history. That's where I was. That's where I felt safe at that time. Because it's just you, God, and Jesus, and all the other things had to be gone. But there was something really missing in that piece. I was missing that deep spiritual connection. I knew that was there, especially with my American Indian Washoe side. I knew there was something more and deeper and just bigger. And going to church for me was not enough. I tried that route for many years because when you think about religion, you think about spirituality, you think, what church am I going to go to? Where should I go and praise God? So coming back home, getting more grounded, and coming back to Mother Nature is where I've really found that is church, that is spirituality. Being out in nature, being in the country, being with plants and surrounded by animals, that's where I needed to be. And so I am back at home in my small town and built my house where it's just the most beautiful view there ever was. And going outside and sitting on my deck, that's when I feel the power of the Creator and all of the wonderful energy out there. I really deeply started my spirituality journey in December of 22. And I signed up for metaphysicals bachelor's program, metaphysical science. And that has just taken me to another level I never expected for myself. I'm meditating. I know the purpose of meditating. I'm understanding manifestation more. Everything is just piecing together so well with this program. There was a car alarm going off. I think it was the spirits like, yes, yes. they're agreeing big time. And things like that too. I've learned that they're not coincidences. We don't have coincidences. We have divine timing and divine energy all working together all the time to give you little nudges that this is it. This is the thing. And so for me, the nudge has been with my podcast, like, start your podcast. And I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about? Just start it. It'll grow. It'll turn into what it needs to turn into. So starting this podcast for me is definitely a leap of faith and saying, here it is. My fiance, he's like, oh, I have a really nice mic. Here you go. And everything just aligned. And now I have my wellness studio in Anza, and I have a space to do it. I'm away from the kids. It's quiet here. I can focus. I can record. And it's just all coming together. And it's me taking that leap of faith saying, yes, let's do this. I'm surrounded by the things that I love. I just hung paintings in here a week or two ago. I've got my lunar phase paintings. I finished the logo painting. And being in my space here at the wellness studio just brings me so much joy and happiness that recording a podcast here is just meant to be. It's all meant to come together here. So during my podcast, I'm going to go over and talk about a bunch of different topics. I'm a big planner. All my friends who know me, very Capricorn, very type A. I usually want to have everything planned, scripted, done to a T. I've been a teacher for 10 years. Everything has always been very planned in my life. And doing something like this that's unplanned is very unlike me and very new. But I know it's all happening in the right way and how it's supposed to be. So I'm going to talk about my spirituality in this podcast. My whole company is around that. It's based in life, healing, and happiness. There's so much that goes on in our lives that we have to understand and dissect, and we all go through so many things. And we're all each on our own individual path, and it's so amazing to think about all the things we're going through and have been through, and how beautiful we can be despite those things. And even because of those things, we can be beautiful people. So that's my life part. Healing. I had to do a lot of healing in my life around spirituality, around self-confidence, and not letting things get so overwhelming that I shut down. A lot of times in the past, big things would happen at work or personally, and it would just be all consuming for me. It would be the only thing I could think about. Now, with the work I've been doing through my metaphysical program, the content I now consume, I'm learning to just see those things for what they are. They're the reality. They happened. They're here. And what could I do or not do just to move on from that situation or thing that has been occurring? So it's my healing part. And the happiness is to find true joy and happiness. I was just listening to something the other day that was talking about happiness and joy and how it can be experienced every day. And you can be at a level of happiness, joy, and ecstasy no matter what. And just trying to take that viewpoint. Even through our very hard times in life, we can still have happiness. We could still have gratitude for the things that are going well and the things that we do have, and just being here and living this human experience on earth. So I was also inspired to start my podcast because of another woman I listened to on Spotify. She's Let's Get Meta, Renata. And I started listening to her later on. She had alluded that she had done interview podcast, but then she was really called to do individual podcasts, just her solo. And I really liked that idea. Just letting things channel through me. Like I said at the beginning with my invocation, just let me be a channel of love and healing and guidance. Because there's so much one individual can share that can shape the way we view what we're going through in our lives. So I'm hoping that this podcast can be one of those things that you turn to and listen to and can relate to, get a little piece of something from it, and just shift your perspective a little bit and make life full of happiness. A part of my spiritual healing journey has really been deeply connecting with my ancestry, my history, my family, and my identity. This has been something really huge for me and something that's helped me heal in a lot of ways. So, like I said, as a kid, I had a lot of things happening around me. So, just to share a little, when I was very young, I would roll over in my bed, look down the hallway, and I'd see somebody walk past. I want to know who they were. Sometimes it would be a scary feeling. Sometimes it would be, oh, that person was okay. It was fine. I'd have people standing in my room. So just trying to understand all of that. Now that I'm older and I'm reconnecting with certain roots of Native ancestry, we were very highly spiritual people and still are. All of those things were a normal part of life. And with Western colonization stripping those things away, we view them as eccentric or odd or those types of things. So now that I'm not in that viewpoint anymore and I'm actively trying to decolonize my life, that's just normal part of being everyday life, being connected like that deeply to the other spiritual side. So today was a really magical day for me. Whom I'm named after is my great grandpa Jackson, and he recorded our Washoe language on cassette tapes, I believe in the 80s. So you have to imagine, I was just thinking of it today, trying to picture it. He was in his 90s, I believe, sitting there in 1980s figuring out how to use a tape recorder to record our language. And just like that took determination. He spent his money on that. That couldn't have been cheap in the 80s, buying recording materials. And my fiance bought me a recorder that connects to the computer so then I can make it digital, make it MP3. And it was amazing. The first two tapes we have to fix, they did not do well. The third tape, however, I got both sides completely recorded. And that ended up being about 2 hours of him talking and speaking language from a dictionary that he has written. And it was just touching to hear his voice. He died the year before I was born, so I didn't get to meet him, but I am named after him. And it was just so beautiful. And I'm so thankful to him for taking the time to do that, knowing one day it would end up in a grandchild's possession to do this. I think he thought it would be maybe a first set of grandchildren, maybe not a great grandchild, but to me it's written in the stars. I'm named after him. Of course, that it would be the right timing and everything. All the schooling I've gone to, the fact that I can handle the computer pretty well. I can Google a lot of things and figure it out. that it's finally all coming together, and that his vision of saving language and revitalizing language is right there at my fingertips. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot of language speakers. There were language speakers in my tribe. It's not that it was completely lost. My aunt taught language class. So it's a language that has been practiced, but if we're not careful and we don't try and we're not intentional, it could be lost. Like in my generation, my cousins and I, that I know closely, we do not speak the language. So it's something that's so important. And so hearing my great grandpa's voice today, hearing his passion and a little bit of his nervousness in the recording, it was just so humbling. It makes me realize, oh, I have to record this podcast, this thing that's been tugging at me. Because what if he did what I've been doing? That questioning, that self-doubt, like, I'm not going to record the language. Who's going to listen to it? Who's going to bother going through hours of tape? It's the same thing I was doing here. He didn't do that. He did the exact opposite. He recorded it, he wrote it down, and he made it accessible to do. So I've got one tape digitized. It's on my computer, and it is so exciting, and I'm so thankful for that. So that's been part of my spiritual journey, finding that connection back. There was a thesis written on two of my ancestors, one being my grandpa Jack. My mom got me a copy of that thesis. I need to read it. There was another thesis written about my Aunt B that I've been reading and touch on. It has more pictures than that one, so I enjoy that. I got from my grandma lots of photos that I've been going through and digitizing as well. So this is not typically what we think of when we think of a spiritual journey. We think of, did you go to church on Sunday? Have you been reading your verses? Have you been doing your practices and prayers? Your spirituality journey can look like that. Those things are wonderful and great, but it can also, in addition to, be these things I'm talking about. The time I'm spending reading about my ancestors, where we came from, how we lived life, and just getting reconnected to all that information. And a lot of it, too, I have to rely on with meditation, just through that deep inner knowing and that indigenous knowledge. And that's where I've had some self-confidence. The things that I'm hearing, the things that are coming down to me, my Western colonized mind is that true? Is that real? I should research that. I need to Google that. But really, I shouldn't have to research any of those things. Those are things coming down through a spiritual realm and coming to me through me, and they are just as much valid as any other means of prayer. So being really connected in that sense has been so enlightening, getting to know who I really am. I'm getting drawn now to learn more about my father's side of the family. There's a lot of unknowns in that situation, so I know that that might be a little bit harder. My native side is pretty clear. I know who I come from, where I come from. That stuff was passed down and has been written down. My father's side gets a little watery a few great grandparents back, so I have to research that more as well and continue on the legacy. My grandpa recorded his language. My maternal grandmother wrote diaries to keep track of all of this stuff that she gave me. So I need to make sure I keep up those things too for my kids in the future, so that they have these things to come back to. Because we all go through this journey of truly finding out who we are and where we belong. So that's where a lot of this is driven from. My business is all encompassing of that. It's just my passion. It's just what I want to do and I want to share. So what I do at RavenRabbit here is I offer yoga classes, because yoga's been a huge part of my spirituality journey with physical healing. I offer art classes at my studio, and I also want to offer those online via Zoom, because art has been the most tremendous way for my healing. Painting, beading, crafting, sewing, all of those things, just my mind. I forget of all of the things in the world, and I'm just creating that one thing. And for me, that is the most healing work. And I like to share that with others. So I have my art classes. I've done some indigenous art classes here. I've made earrings, teaching that. I've taught making dream catchers, the real history behind it with the Ojibwe people and how it has been adopted into Pan-Indianism culture and how it's been exploited. So I like to teach all of that history and also give the opportunity to learn a beautiful tradition. And at my studio, I've been working on building life sessions and spiritual sessions. I'm open to helping out people in any way for them coming to me, sharing what maybe they might not share with their family or don't feel brave enough yet to share with their families, and just sorting it out, because a lot of times we need that personal nudge and that little help to get us to have that breakthrough. We're all capable of that breakthrough deep within us. We all have it. But sometimes the external things really help. Having another person to listen, using your arts, using exercise such as yoga, all of those things help bring clarity and joy into our lives so we have a nice perspective of what's going on around us. And so this podcast is going to be just me sharing in real time what's going on in my life, what's going on in my business, how I'm getting things spiritually, how they're coming to me. I've been on this wonderful journey that I'm so excited to share with others, and maybe you're going through the same type of journey of finding out who your ancestors are. That's a lot of my spiritual sessions too. Going back through your history, regardless of your ethnicity, there's so much history and ancestral knowledge that's been given to you from your family that you can uncover and that you can find and learn so much from. That doesn't just go for Indigenous people, that's for all people. So I hope you take this journey with me. Stick around, see where we go, because I don't know where we're going. I'm going to lead in to the Creator and have the Creator guide me wherever that may be. And I will work every day with my business and with my personal life and professional life and just keep going from there. If this podcast helped you out in any way, you got a good story out of it, you enjoyed it, it maybe enlightened your day, please share this podcast on any social media you have. Let your friends know about it, your families know about it. That is the best way to thank a podcaster and small business owner. Share away.